Cover zero. Cover zero is football chaos at its finest. There are no deep safeties at all. Every defender is either covering a receiver man-to-man or blitzing the quarterback. When those extra blitzers reach the quarterback before he can find an open target, it's absolutely devastating. Quarterbacks have to make split-second decisions under extreme pressure. But here's the risk. If just one defender misses their assignment, it's a straight path to the end zone with nobody deep to save the day. It's football's version of an all-in poker bet. You'll typically spot cover zero on critical third and long situations when defenses need a sack. The Ravens with Kyle Hamilton love to bring this pressure package. You can identify it by the absence of safeties playing deep, cornerbacks press tight on receivers, and a surge of defenders rushing toward the quarterback. For quarterbacks facing cover zero, it's a race against time. They must identify the blitz pre-snap, know exactly where their quick outlet is, and deliver the ball accurately before getting hit. The best QBs will look for one-on-one matchups they can exploit, often with a quick slant or fade route. If they can buy just a half second more, it's often 6 points waiting to happen. Cover 1. In cover 1, one safety patrols the deep middle of the field while everyone else plays tight man-to-man coverage. This coverage shuts down quick short passes because defenders are glued to receivers, leaving no easy throws for the quarterback. But the weakness is clear. If a receiver beats their defender, there's only one safety to prevent a touchdown. Fast receivers can be nightmares against cover 1. Look for cover 1 on second and third downs when cornerbacks are feeling confident. The Jets' Sauce Gardner thrives in this coverage. You'll recognize it by the one safety playing center field with cornerbacks pressed tight on receivers. It's often called man-free because of that free safety roaming deep. Quarterbacks facing cover 1 need pinpoint accuracy and timing. With defenders tightly covering receivers, throwing windows are tiny. Smart QBs will look for matchup advantages, maybe their speedy slot receiver against a slower linebacker or a bigger receiver who can win jump balls. Pre-snap motion can help identify the coverage, and the best quarterbacks will use their eyes to manipulate that single high safety, looking him off to create space for their intended target. Cover 1 robber. Cover 1 robber looks similar to regular cover 1, but with a twist. A safety or linebacker lurks 5 to 10 yards off the line, waiting to jump routes over the middle. It's designed to bait quarterbacks into throwing those quick slants and crossing routes, only to have the robber step in for an interception. The drawback? With one defender playing the robber role instead of helping deep long passes, can find more space behind the coverage. You'll see this coverage against teams that rely on quick passing games, especially on second and short. The Saints' Justin Reed excels at this deceptive coverage. To spot it, watch for a defender who isn't clearly covering anyone, hovering in the middle of the field ready to pounce on passes. This is a trap waiting to happen for quarterbacks. The robber is essentially a defensive back hiding in plain sight, ready to jump those quick middle routes QBs often rely on when pressured. Experienced quarterbacks need to identify the robber pre-snap or quickly post-snap and avoid those middle-of-field throws unless absolutely certain. The best approach is often to attack the sidelines away from that lurking defender or to look the robber off before throwing elsewhere. Cover 2 zone. In cover 2 zone, two safeties split the deep field in half, each responsible for their side about 15 yards deep. 5 defenders underneath cover short zones. The underneath defenders can swarm to short passes, while the safeties prevent deep sideline throws. The weakness? The deep middle can be vulnerable, right between those safeties, and running games can thrive against lighter defensive fronts. This coverage appears frequently on second downs or against pass-heavy offenses. It was a staple of the Colts during Peyton Manning's era. You'll recognize cover 2 zone by two safeties playing deep halves with cornerbacks playing closer to the line but not pressed tight on receivers. It's often called the bend but don't break defense. Against cover 2 zone, quarterbacks need to find the soft spots between zones. The deep middle, or seam, is often the sweet spot between those two deep safeties. Timing is everything. Throw too early and underneath defenders can make a play. Throw too late and safeties can converge. Patient quarterbacks can work the sidelines with comeback routes that sit just between the corner and safety responsibilities. Quick outlet passes to running backs can also be effective since linebackers often have deeper zone responsibilities. Cover 2. Man. Cover 2 man features two safeties deep, like regular cover 2, but everyone else plays tight man-to-man rather than zone. This coverage combines the tight coverage of man defense with the deep protection of two safeties, making it harder for receivers to get separation. The vulnerabilities? Quick and shifty receivers can still beat man coverage, and passes up the seam in the deep middle can find space between the safeties. You'll typically see cover 2 man on third downs when a pass is highly likely. The Buccaneers, with Jamel Dean, use this effectively. It's recognizable by cornerbacks pressed tight on receivers with two safeties playing deep. Some call it sticky coverage for how defenders cling to receivers. This coverage combines the difficulty of man-to-man with deep safety help, forcing quarterbacks to be perfect. QBs need receivers who can win their individual matchups, but they also need to be wary of those two deep safeties patrolling the sidelines. The best strategy is often attacking the middle seam between those safeties or using crossing routes to create natural picks that help receivers get separation. Mobile quarterbacks can also take advantage by scrambling, as defenders with their backs turned to the line of scrimmage won't see the QB running. Cover 2 buzz. Cover 2 buzz is pure deception. While it shows a cover 3 look with a safety creeping down pre-snap, it's actually cover 2. The defense inverts the safety and cornerback responsibilities. The safety continues down to defend the flat while the cornerback drops to handle deep coverage. This coverage effectively defends the quick screen game while maintaining deep protection. When the safety buzzes down at the snap, the cornerback maintains outside leverage before dropping deep, allowing the defense to defend outside gaps quickly. You'll spot it when a safety creeps toward the line pre-snap while the cornerback plays off the receiver more than usual. The Rams use this effectively against teams that rely on perimeter plays. For quarterbacks, it's a headache. They read cover 3 pre-snap, but suddenly face cover 2. What should be an open seam becomes a trap. Smart QBs must confirm the coverage post-snap and adjust quickly, using routes that exploit traditional cover 2 weaknesses once they recognize what they're really facing. Tampa 2. Tampa 2 starts like cover 2, but with a special twist. The middle linebacker drops deep down the center, creating a 3-deep defender triangle with the safeties. That dropping linebacker closes the deep middle vulnerability of regular cover 2, shutting down seam routes that would normally find space. The trade-off? With the middle linebacker dropping deep, quick underneath passes and runs can find more room to operate. This coverage appears against teams with tight ends who attack the seam like the Chiefs. The 2002 Buccaneers with Derrick Brooks made this coverage famous. You'll spot it by watching the middle linebacker immediately backpedal after the snap, dropping almost like a third safety. The Tampa 2 specifically takes away a quarterback's favorite cover 2 target, that vulnerable deep middle area. Smart QBs will need to look elsewhere, often attacking the areas vacated by the dropping middle linebacker with shallow crosses or quick slants. Another approach is to use play action to freeze that linebacker momentarily, preventing him from getting proper depth in his drop. Quarterbacks can also look to the sidelines with corner routes that stretch those deep safeties, especially if they can get their tight end or slot receiver matched against a cornerback. Cover 3. In cover 3, 3 defenders, typically 1 safety and 2 cornerbacks, each take a deep third of the field, while 4 defenders cover underneath zones. With 3 deep defenders, it's extremely difficult to complete passes over the top, and it still keeps enough defenders near the line to stop the run. The vulnerabilities are in the intermediate middle and quick passes to the flat. Look for cover 3 on early downs when both run and pass are threats. The Seahawks' Devin Witherspoon is excellent in this scheme. You'll recognize it by 3 defenders spaced evenly across the deep part of the field, like a picket fence. It's sometimes called sky coverage. Against cover 3, quarterbacks look to attack the flats and seams between zones. Quick out routes can beat corners who are retreating to their deep thirds, while corner routes that settle between the deep thirds and underneath zones are also effective. The flood concept, sending 3 receivers to one side at different depths, can overload the zones and create an open target. Savvy QBs will use their eyes to manipulate underneath defenders, looking one way before throwing another to create larger windows. Cover 3 cloud. Cover 3 cloud is a variation of cover 3 where one cornerback stays shallow to jam receivers and defend the flat, while a safety rotates over to cover that deep third. This approach disrupts timing on quick passes to one side and provides better run support on the edge. The risk? Deep passes to the side with the rotating safety can be dangerous if the safety is slow to get over. You'll see cover 3 cloud against teams with big receivers who struggle against press coverage, like the Bengals. The Eagles with Darius Slay use this effectively. It's recognizable by one cornerback playing much closer to the line than the other, with a safety shifting to cover the deep zone behind him. The key for quarterbacks against cover 3 cloud is recognizing which side has the cloud cornerback playing underneath. That side will typically struggle with deep passes as the safety has to rotate over. Smart QBs will use motion to identify the coverage, then attack the rotating safety with deep posts or go routes from the slot. The flat opposite the cloud corner can also be vulnerable as that cornerback has deep responsibilities and can't quickly close on short throws. Cover 3 buzz. Cover 3 buzz starts with two high safeties initially showing a cover 2 look, but after the snap, one safety quickly drops down to play an underneath zone while the cornerbacks bail into deep thirds coverage along with the remaining safety, creating a cover 3. This disguised coverage catches offenses preparing for cover 2, but suddenly facing cover 3 principles. The buzzing safety adds an extra defender in the underneath zones, creating tight windows for short and intermediate passes. The weakness? With the safety transitioning from deep to underneath, there can be a brief window to attack before everyone settles into position. You'll see this coverage on early downs against teams that attack cover 2. The Steelers' Minkah Fitzpatrick excels at this, timing his buzz down perfectly. You can identify it by watching two high safeties pre-snap, then one suddenly charging toward the line after the snap, while the corners quickly retreat to deep positions. For quarterbacks, the challenge is recognizing this transformation quickly. What looks like an opportunity to attack cover 2's middle seam suddenly becomes a cover 3 shell. Smart QBs need to hold their initial read and confirm the coverage post-snap. Quick timing routes designed for cover 2 can be particularly dangerous if the quarterback doesn't recognize the rotation. Play action can be effective, keeping that buzzing safety caught between run and pass responsibilities. Cover 4, quarters. In cover 4, 4 defensive backs each cover a deep quarter of the field, with 3 underneath defenders in zones. With 4 deep defenders, it's nearly impossible to complete passes downfield, perfect for preventing big plays. The downside, with so many resources dedicated to deep coverage, underneath passes and runs can find plenty of space. You'll see cover 4 late in games when preventing the big play is crucial, or on long yardage situations. The 49ers use this to frustrate gunslingers like Aaron Rodgers. It's recognizable by 4 defenders spread evenly across the deep part of the field, like a wall protecting the end zone. Against quarters coverage, the deep ball is essentially eliminated, forcing quarterbacks to be patient. The best approach is taking what's available underneath, with short crossing routes, quick outs, and checkdowns to running backs. These short completions can eventually force those deep defenders to creep up, potentially opening deeper shots later. Another tactic is using bunch formations and rub routes to create traffic for those defensive backs, making it harder for them to maintain their deep responsibilities while navigating through receivers. Cover 6. Cover 6 is a combination coverage, cover 2 on one side of the field and cover 4 on the other side. This confuses quarterbacks by presenting different looks depending on which side they're reading, making it harder to identify open receivers. The risk? Its complexity can lead to communication breakdowns in the secondary, and creative offenses can exploit the different coverage rules. Look for cover 6 against teams with unbalanced formations or pass-heavy offenses. The Patriots have used this to confuse quarterbacks like Josh Allen. You'll recognize it by one side of the field having a single deep defender, while the other side has 2 deep defenders spaced closer together. Cover 6 is designed to make quarterbacks second-guess what they're seeing. The key is identifying which side is playing cover 2 and which is playing cover 4, then attacking accordingly. The cover 2 side is typically vulnerable to seam routes and deep middle throws, while the cover 4 side can be exploited underneath. Pre-snap motion can help reveal the coverage, and the best quarterbacks will look off defenders to create larger windows. A simple approach is isolating your best receiver on the cover 2 side, where there's only one deep defender to beat. Leave a comment below with your hot take for the coming season. See you in the next one.